So what we're going to do, everybody, is, I don't know who's got blankets at home, but if you do, you can either use it on your back and spread it out over half your mat, or you can use it as a little blanket for your head. And you don't need a blanket for this one, so either way is fine. If you have one, just use it how you like. And then we're going to start in our constructive resting position, so this bent knee shape. And I know it's always a little awkward for you all to center your head and try to observe the screen at the same time. But feel free to center your head and just tune into verbal cues, and you can look up if you need to. And so once you've established a comfortable physical position here, you can let your arms be out along your side, or you can lie your hands on your belly. And as always, take those feet as far out away from the hips as feels good, or conversely, walk them in a lot tighter. But either way, let's start by feeling your body. It's kind of this host of sensations, of some pressure and a feeling of your body against the ground and your clothes on your body, and maybe a little breeze, just a sense of air passing over your skin. And wherever you notice it, feel the presence of breathing through your body. Whether you're feeling it more in the head, the face, or in the chest or in the belly. Just gently feel it. A friendly sort of awareness. Curious and open. And receptive. But with a loving quality. And then just take in all the sounds that are around. Again, sounds that are traveling through the ether. Sounds that are just right there in your room. Maybe the sound of your breath. Little ambient noises. just be aware of any feeling tones that are present. Maybe you're feeling anxious or bored or joyous or tranquil or just notice if there's any feeling tone there. And notice too, or be aware, that all of these sensations, the physical and the sensations of breathing and the sounds and feeling tones and even thoughts that come and go, they're all landing inside consciousness. It's like the container for it all. And there's a way in which we can sort of practice and learn to just like rest into that, the space that it all lands in. It goes by different names. The yogis often use that Sanskrit word purusha, or this ever-present witness. It's kind of part of mindfulness meditation. It's in the first couple of sutras of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, identifying with this witness, not only the thought waves that bubble up and dissolve. They're interesting. We've been taking note of them, but there's something sort of that lurks even deeper, or the place where all of it plays out, this ever-present conscious awareness. So just in the last minute here, as we continue to rest on our back, let's redirect the focus. More of an awareness practice, or more of a concentration practice, I should say. And let's just come back to concentrating on the breathing. And just last 4, 5, 6 breaths here. Allow your breath to be full and slow and deep. Last couple rounds of breath here. All right, everybody, let's get to moving a little bit here. So, we're going to begin with Apanasana, drawing the knees in toward the chest, and just without letting go of your knees, so it's going to dictate the length of movement here. And just kind of vacillate, a little bit of forward, a little bit of deeper flexion in towards your shoulder, towards your rib. So you're basically just pushing one knee toward the front of your mat and pulling one knee toward the top of your mat. Pushing one knee toward the front, pulling one knee toward the top. And just try that for about 2 minutes. And we're not going to use a stopwatch and won't be precise, but dig it for a little while. Be in no hurry to finish the move. Feel free to explore it slowly. You may notice the little micro adjustments that you can feel as you go back and forth. And the one consistent part of the exercise will be this pushing and pulling, but one thing you can vary is how wide the knees are. You can vary how quickly you move, how slowly you move. Oh. One more minute here. Next, let's hold one knee stationary. You can pick either one. And then let the other leg circle a few times. You're just circling a little bigger than your hip, so you should go a little further flexed, a little further in, a little further forward, a little further out. So that circumference is a little bigger than your hip. And then we're going to circle in the opposite direction, but continue to circle that same leg. Oh. And then let's switch up legs. So we'll get leg 1 stationary and get leg 2 circling. Let's wrap it up and circle in the opposite direction. Leg number 2. And then everybody, let's work back to center and rest 2 feet on the floor. Now you've got options for this one. If you have a blanket or a yoga block nearby, or something you can fold up and squeeze, you can place it right between the knees. And if you don't have something to squeeze, like a yoga block or a blanket, you can just bring the knees together. Now about 10 times in a row, you're just going to go for a nice, strong squeeze. Oh. And I think somebody's mic might be on. I don't want to disturb your flow here, but maybe somebody's still on. Anyway, so about 10 more squeezes, y'all. So maybe it's a dozen squeezes, maybe even 15 or 20. You're just adducting, working those inner upper thighs, probably engaging the outer thighs too, but the inner ones do a lot of work, and then relaxing. And you're squeezing, whether it's a yoga block or a blanket or just leg into leg, relaxing, squeezing. Oh, that feels good. About 5 more. Last one. All right. Next, if you've got the squeezer, you can go ahead and set that off to the side. If you've been working with a blanket under your head, go ahead and clear that out as well. So everything will be ground level. We're going to extend both legs. And then we're going to open up the arms into cactus pose, interrogation pose, sort of a right angle, thereabouts. Ooh. All right. So a couple things here, everybody, as you're extending out through your legs, you've got a couple options. You can just let them be passive and relaxed, almost like corpse pose at this point. Or you can charge a little energy through those legs and activate the thighs a little bit, maybe even spread out your toes. Be more mindful to keep the legs, like the shins and the feet, arranged like straight up and down instead of relaxed and flopped open. So if you're going to activate the legs, activate them such to get them kind of straight, active, and neutral, working. But if you want to relax the legs, just turn off the effort. Either condition for your legs, we're going to let those elbows be on the floor. That everybody can do. And then some portion of the forearm may or may not lay out on the floor. I hardly have any of my forearm on the floor right now. This pose feels particularly stiff at this moment. But of course it's going to feel however it feels for you, which is different than how it feels for me. So give it about 10 more breaths. So a few other things too, just to explore in the pose. You might let your wrists just fall. But for me, I personally kind of like to keep my wrists neutral with my forearm and really let the entire back of the forearm, back of the wrist, back of the hand work its way toward the floor rather than just angling at the fingers. If anything feels weird or nervy or starts to fall asleep, obviously always unprompted by me, come on out, adjust. But if it just feels muscular, if it just feels a little tight, if it just feels like you need a little more time, or if it feels really comfortable, just kind of easing into that space between your arm and the floor, stay with it. Last few breaths. And if you're flush to the floor this whole time and it all feels like pretty easy to get flush, great. Be happy with that. It's nice. You can also try to go up and down if you want to work it a little more. You can also try to soften the ribs in and down a little more. Last few breaths. So next from here we're going to bring the arms so they're like flagpoles, straight up. Same elbow position more or less. Now on this one you're going to take one arm down toward the front of your mat, following the same mini cues from before, just using your forearm, trying not to hammer away at the wrist too much, stopping wherever it feels comfortable, while keeping your shoulder more or less pinned to the floor. Now as this new arm is going down, kind of like a scarecrow arm, let that opposite arm go back, just like exercise 1. And then switch. So here we're going back and forth. If I were doing this seated, you guys stay on the floor, but just to be clear, it might look like this. Exactly. About 10 or 12 more. Same conditions apply for the legs. They're long and extended, so you're really opening up through the front of your hip flexors, but they can be relaxed, or maybe you're still working them a little bit. Now if you want to add one more little component here, there's no hurry through these exercises. I think they're actually more effective just going really slowly and feeling it out. I know you've got the added complication of checking out the screen too, but let's add this last component before we're done here, letting the head turn toward the lowering arm. So whichever side's lowering, head rotates that way. Whichever side lowers, head rotates that way. Last couple. Oh, goodness. All right. Lastly, everybody, let's come back to center. Reach both arms up toward the ceiling. And lower one straight arm all the way down towards your foot or toward your knee. And reach one straight arm all the way back along your ear. And then we'll swap. Big, full gestures. And obviously if there's any shoulder issue that prevents you from hitting the floor on the way up and over, stop when you need to. I think most of us will have the full range of floor motion for this one, the full 180. Just like the previous round, you can add head away from high arm. Another way to say that, head toward the low arm. And just last few here. Then as you're ready, everybody, let's work back to center. We're going to rest both arms along our side. Button the legs together. So you've got a narrow set of legs here. Still straight, still long. Still fully extended, but squeezed together. So we'll try this for about a minute. So you can work at any speed you want within that minute. And you're just going to go back and forth between squeezing your glutes and relaxing them. So just a binary condition here. Either glutes on, glutes off. Right. Active, squeezed, relaxed. You can spend a little more time in the active squeezed part. So maybe 3 or 4 seconds. Maybe just 1 or 2 to soften, 3 or 4 to squeeze, 1 or 2 to soften. Really basic on some level, and it is basic. It's not a complicated move. You're lying on your back, squeezing your bum. However, it's very effective. It's very healthy. It's good to develop the glutes. It's good to develop this mind-body connection. Your intention, your brain, in your mind, and then it resulting in some movement, in some action. And doing it enough times or for a long enough period of time where you can really start to feel it. Last couple. Generally, obviously not laying out any diagnosis, that's not my area of expertise at all. But in general, more robust glutes almost always make for a happier low back. So it's just a good thing to work on. And then everybody, when you're ready, let's release all of that. Oh. All right. So one more from here. We're going to rest 2 flat feet on the floor, maybe about 10, 12 inches away from your hips. You can work with any arm shape you like, out, down along your side, or even up and over your head. And we're going to do some bridging. So in the center of your head, use some of that glute power that you just worked with isometrically, and now it's locomoting you through space. About 2 minutes of bridging. And just really trying to drive home here, especially right on the heels of that glute only exercise, that we're kind of carrying some of that glute focus. It's a different way of using them, of course, but carrying some of that glute focus into this progression. So your whole body participates in a bridge, or at least quite a bit of it, a lot of your lower body, and the part of your trunk. But make sure those glutes are really firing as well as you're able to. Just with your intention is helpful. And that's that mind-body connection and development we're working on and refining and always improving. Things you can vary a little bit, how wide the feet are. The position of the arms. All right. Now I don't teach this next one too often, so I'm kind of excited to show this one. So what we're going to do for the next minute or so of bridging, if you're not, well, you're welcome to just take a look, is we're going to add a reach. And so when we reach, the head's going to stay on the ground, but it's going to rotate a little bit. My upper body's rotated a little bit because I'm reaching through this arm. My hips have rotated a little, but they're both lifting. Both glutes are active. And then I come back down and switch sides. So it's bridge, but then with a kind of diagonal reach out toward that opposite corner of your mat. It feels great. I've been prepping this one today. So try that for about a minute or so. And I see a few of you on camera there. No, not everybody's got their camera on, which is all good. So to clarify, you're bridging, a lot of glute power, but then you're adding this rotation. Open up the thoracic part of your spine. Make it a bit asymmetrical. In that you're only going to one side at a time. If that opposite arm feels a little awkward, maybe just experiment with a slightly different angle. And last few times. Just to make sure that last bridge is symmetrical, we're going to hold the hands together as we wrap this little part of our session here. Hold the hands together in a fist. Lift up into just one bridge right up the center. Okay, so for this final bridge here, we're just holding. 2 feet on the floor. Both sides of your hips working. Little to no twist. All right. And then when you're ready, everybody, slowly come on down. Take the hands inside that little space in your low back, just above your waistband and just below any of your ribs. And we're going to extend the left leg, one leg, along the floor. We're going to get up soon, but not quite yet. All right, so from here, and just barely lift the head and the shoulders. And then release back down. So you want to repeat about 6 or 8 or 10 times. This one's, if you guys have practiced live with me, you've probably done it at some point. And just to fill out the details on this one, we are trying to do what seems kind of like a traditional abdominal exercise, like a crunch, but with very little changes to the contours of the back. So the tail and butt still stick out on the floor. The low back has a little bit of an arch. The ribs are basically on the floor, and the shoulders and head have a very similar shape, just no longer supported by the floor. So all that support that the floor used to give you, it's got to go somewhere. It's going to go into the abdominals. But instead of adding a bunch of change to your back, which can be fine and safe for most of us, this is just another way of exploring, the back actually stays pretty much neutral. Last one. And then release that. So just to wrap it up from here, we're going to do that same exercise, but with the new leg straight, new leg bent. Okay? So these are little tiny abdominal exercises. Small, in that we don't move very far, but powerful in that it takes a lot of strength in your trunk to maintain it. This is part of a very well-researched set of 6 movements that I've taught before. And if for whatever reason everything's game except your neck, you could always just hold your head with one hand, keep one hand under your back, and just come up like that. Some people have the abdominal strength but just haven't quite sorted out how to keep it okay in the neck. So that's always an alternate. You want it really cooking through your trunk. Last one. Okay, and then we're going to release. So from here, last move, we're going to, from our back, we're going to come into a tabletop shape with the knees and the calves and the feet, like a right angle. Lay the arms out along the floor and just start tinkering a little with side-to-side movements. And there's really more than one way to do this, as there often is with our yoga postures. You can let this be a little bit more relaxed and go for big twists and just keep your shoulders down. Or you can go with more abdominal and side muscle tension and go for smaller movements but under greater tension. Right? So abdominals can really try to control it and make the movements small but strong. Or your low back can do more release, but you're letting go more, right? But if you're doing that on purpose, that feels great. Last 30 seconds or so, giving you a pretty wide berth. Big knees side to side with more relaxation and stretch, or little knees side to side with more core stabilization. Eventually, let's roll off to one side. And then from here we're going to push up to all fours. All right. Oh my gosh. That felt so good. Okay. Hope that felt good to you all. So from all fours, I know I say this all the time, but you really just want to make peace with your knees, and those of you that have particular knee concerns going on that preclude all fours, you can maybe do some version of this from a slightly different shape. So, from all fours, we're going to extend the right leg back. Right leg back. Hips are level and neutral. And then we're just going to reach the left arm forward. Now, while you're here, there's many, many things we can focus on. You want to keep your hips pretty level and stable. Some action through your straight leg glute. Press down through your straight leg arm so your upper back rounds a little and you feel like you've got a nice stable base. And reach as high as that opposite arm allows for. And then release, come back, and let's switch. So new long leg, and just to clarify, we're building up to it, but that long leg, toes are tucked. Foot's on the floor. New extended arm. For me, it's the right one. Technically, this is a flexion in your arm, but okay. So you've got your back leg extended, you've got your top arm flexed, and you're staying nice and stable with the points of contact on the floor. And then release. Let's come back to side one. So you've got a long right leg, toes tucked on the floor, long left arm, bicep along the ear, pressing down through your plankish arm, pulling in and up a little through your navel, pulling the head away from the floor. And then release. My dog has a neighbor friend that comes over once in a while for a visit. I think they're cruising by. All right, visit time will be later, Mr. Elisha. All right, so last one here with foot on the floor. And then release, and then let's get to the full bird dog, which is part of the that well-researched sequence that I was talking about earlier. This is connected to the abdominal work. You lift one leg, really try to maintain the table shape. So strong belly, neutral hips, press with your shoulders, press with your arms, spread with your upper back, pull the head up away from the floor, then add opposite arm. So I've got a right leg and a left arm, and they're both reaching toward opposite walls. Full work in the glute. And then release. Let's switch sides. So we extend back a new left leg, reach forward a new right arm, lift that leg off the ground, and both limbs are about level. And I'm using the table behind me as inspiration. Good. And then you just go back and forth last couple on your own. So if you need that first introductory version, keep a set of toes tucked. If you're ready for it, and it seems like, I'm guessing most everybody is, you're going full two limbs up, but really try to work on that good form. There's so much to garner from keeping good form in this one. Oh. And then lastly, when you're ready, everybody, come on back to neutral. And just to wrap up this three-part sequence that's one little part of our wider class session, we're going to do side plank. Side plank. So, if you've been working with cushioning, pretty good time for it, but if you got a thick enough mat, you don't need it, or if you're on carpet. You're going to keep one elbow on the floor, a little further tucked in than you might think you need to, and lift up off your hips. And this top arm can either go out in front or straight up. And again, we've got a little squeeze through the glutes. We've got a little hug in the ribs. So we're trying to keep the torso strong. And we've got a little lift through the forehead so it's higher than the chin. And then come down. And repeat. So for those of you that forearm plank is just not in the cards, you can lie down on your side and just try to lift your legs only. Or even try to just lift part of your torso if your shoulder can't handle the support. Taking it the other direction, more of a progression, if side plank feels pretty good, you're feeling really strong and robust in it, come all the way up off the ground even with your knees and do that full version every time. 3 options. Basically lying on the floor, doing some amount of lift, traditional side plank but with knees down, or the full Vashisthasana, knees up. Let's switch sides, everybody. Knee support version. I like that, kind of the middle of the road. Just side lying version. It's a little different. But I want to make sure there's an option there for people that are ruled out because of a shoulder concern. And then on the progression side, all the way up into full Vashisthasana, up off your knees. All right. And then let's release everybody. Awesome. So we're going to shift into downward facing dog when you're ready, but just to fill it out and make sure everybody knows, the 3 big moves, as part of Stuart McGill is the researcher that's credited with these. It's the abdominal move, 1 on each side, the side plank, hitting both sides, and then the bird dog shape, hitting both sides. So the thought is it gives support to the right side of the front, left side of the front, the right side of the right, the left side of the left, right, the actual side body, and then works through the right side of your back line and the left side of your back line. It's very complete, and all of them are done with a pretty much neutral spine. So it's training our body to find that strong neutral and support it from all sides and all those different angles. It's a great one. I've actually been wanting to get it on tape for a while. So anyway, let's come up. All right, we're getting up. Oh, this feels good. All right, so we're going to reach both arms out. We're going to let that right arm come down. We're going to turn the left palm up and let the head fall in the direction of the left palm. Ooh. Now, if you want more, that active, the downward arm can be active or it can just be passive. Actively reaching or passively just kind of hanging there. They both feel good. Phase 2. Still got this left arm working out here, but she's going to bend up into the shoulder. Then the head's going to tilt away, and we're going to lift the elbow of the left arm. So to be clear, we'll repeat this a couple times. You open that left arm, palm up, and you let the head tilt right toward it, like you're just going to let the head release into your palm. And then conversely, you're letting the hand fold up into the shoulder. The elbow lifts up toward the ear as the head tilts away from that seam. Oh my goodness. Last couple. Ooh. Wow. Okay, let's switch sides. I can get lost in that one. All right, so on the new side, same set of options. You got, for me, right arm extended out here, palm up, and I'm going to let my head release in that direction. Like the crown of the head, we're just going to somehow land in the in the right palm of my hand. Now, while we're in this shape, what is this left arm doing? She's either just relaxing along your side or she's reaching more actively down toward the corner of your mat. Phase 2, right arm comes bending up and in, but head goes away. And then you just go back and forth at any pace that feels good. Head toward the open arm with palm up. Head away from the bending arm. Palm is in. Oh. Last couple. Oh my goodness. All right. And then when you're ready, everybody, let's finally release that. Now, I'm going to show you from behind. You're going to have the left hand back on your tail. And while you keep your left shoulder pretty much in neutral, not letting it come forward too much, let that left hand start to go up your back. And maybe it stays close to the tail, maybe it winds up between the shoulder blades. If it feels good, reach all the way to your right shoulder. Okay? Now we're going to take the right arm, reach it out in front of you, palm up, and then reach it straight up and over your shoulder. Now this might be a massive space. We could be from tail to neck, or lower ribs to upper ribs, or midsection to midsection. Just give it a few breaths. Look at it, Eli. Oh my gosh, that feels so good. And then release that. Last one here, just make sure we're even on both sides. You're going to take your new right arm behind you, but keep that right shoulder pretty neutral-ish. Don't let it come forward too much. Yeah? Now, she may stay down at the tail. She might be able to come up to the ribs. Then we're going to reach the left arm out in front, palm up, and just bend. Bend at the elbow. And again, there might be space big enough such that you're at your neck and you're at your tail. Maybe at both ribs. You know, one hand at the upper, one hand at the lower. Just go where you can comfortably go. Or even move into it so that it feels like a pretty nice stretch. Last 2 breaths here. This one's so good for shoulders, upper back, neck. If you've been at a computer a lot, this one's really just golden. And then lastly, let's release that. Shake it out. You can shake it out down. You can shake it out forward. You can shake it out back. You can shake it out up. You can shake it out. You can shake it out down. Oh man, that feels good. All right, y'all. So let's square up along the long side of the mat. Bring the hands to the heart. And without punching your chandelier, inhale and reach both arms up. And then on an exhale, let's just hinge all the way down. On an inhale, come about halfway up. And on an exhale, let's hinge back down. Now from here, we're going to walk out to a plank position. If your palms need, really it's probably going to be your wrists. Don't like it, come onto the forearms. If you can, stay up in full plank. Now from here, forearms or palms. See if you can round your upper back a little bit and spread out your shoulder blades. So this is protracting your scapula. And then see if you can, without bending your elbows, if you're in regular plank, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Retract. Spread into protract. And squeeze into retract. Now if this is too hard, you can come down onto the knees. 3 more. Round up into protract, like you're pushing the floor straight down into the basement. And then squeeze into retract like you're dropping your chest toward your thumbs, but without changing the arms. 2 more. It's actually a really strong movement. I've sometimes referred to these as scapular push-ups. Last one. And then just to wrap the hard stuff here, come into a full version of plank from your forearms. So up off your knees if you can, and just give it 10 big breaths. Stabilize through your glutes. Stabilize through your ribs. Retract a little through your head so it doesn't drop too close to the ground. Last couple breaths here. Now, while you're in this plank, as it's at its hardest moment, we've been in it for a while, see if you can get a couple big full breaths in. All right. And then let's come down and rest on the belly. Ay, ay, ay. Once you come down and you're resting on the belly, we're going to open up the arms. We're getting close to wrapping it here. And we're going to let the head turn to one side. And then we're going to lift up the head, maybe get a little dog kiss, and then slowly lower to the other side. And let's go back and forth. And let's start connecting these with our breathing, such that on inhalation, we're coordinating that with the lifting, and during exhalation, coordinating that with the turning and the lowering. So inhale, lifting up through your breastbone, pulling back through the head, pointing out through the crown, keeping your glutes. You really got the option, but I'd say just kind of relaxed at this point, and then slowly releasing as you rotate down. All right. And after that last one, so one more before we kind of go into rest mode here. Hopefully I have enough room for this guy. So this one is just turning over, but with one limb. We've got 4 choices, one limb initiating. So I'm going to elect this arm to start. So here's how it looks, if y'all can see it first. My intention is just to flip over, but that one arm started it. Same intention. Same arm. Gets me back. Now let's say I elect this leg right here. I'm going to turn all the way over, but that leg starts the process. And that leg will get me back to the start. So it should be 8 different moves. Like a left arm gets you prone to supine. A left arm gets you supine to prone. A right arm gets you prone to supine. A right arm gets you supine to prone. And then leg, and then other leg. 8 moves. Just to clarify, none of the limbs are resisting. Everybody goes along with the show. It's just there's clearly one initiator. Oh, God, that feels good. Once you've gotten all 8, we're going to come back onto our back. We did start here. No hurry through those turns and twists, and just take your time. And we'll all meet back here in the Shavasana shape. But just take a moment to attend to it. So let each leg be straightened out, what feels like the same amount. Let them relax open. Get a sense that your sacrum and your tailbone are centered on your mat. And then let the hips relax. And all that strength and fluidity, we did a lot of range of motion stuff, and then a lot of stabilizing all through the trunk. Really let that trunk just relax here as we fade into Shavasana. Let the arms find a very comfortable, palatable shape, probably down along your side. And if you haven't already, center your head. Maybe just imagine your face relaxing completely. And for a few minutes on the clock, we will just commune together here. Relax. And just let everything fall into that open space of conscious awareness. There's really nothing we're trying to grasp, nothing we're trying to push away. Just letting it all be. Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahavidyam Karvavahe Tejasve Namitamasu Ma Vidvahayahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we be protected. May we be nourished. May our studies be effective, our yoga practice. May there be no animosity amongst us. Peace in you, peace in me, peace in nature, peace in all the forces. Om. An invocation to yoga teaching. All right. So, if you haven't already, make your way comfortably up and out of your Shavasana. Come here, Naja. Can you sit? All right. You get going. So Eli's going to sit with us here for a minute too. Thank you everybody for coming. Namaste. All right.